is just not true. And I don't care how many times the NRA says it. I'm about to leave office. There have been more guns sold since I've been president than just about any time in U.S. history. There are enough guns for every man, woman, and child in this country. And at no point have I ever proposed confiscating guns from responsible gun owners. So it's just not true.
Oh, boy. So a cocky Trump supporter confronts President Barack Obama at a town hall, steps up to the mic with this massive, smug smirk, and gets absolutely schooled instantly. Like the old saying goes, he went out looking for wool and came home shorn. Seriously, you have to watch this guy's body language. He honestly thought he had the ultimate progressive trap set up. He stands up and demands to know why Obama and Hillary Clinton want to restrict the rights of good guy gun owners instead of just punishing the criminals. And then, of course, he brings up Chicago. Because always Chicago, right? He claims that strict laws prove gun control is a complete failure. And then, wait, are they kidding me? He actually suggests the government should just round up the thugs, or just let everyone arm themselves for self-defense.
The good guys, why then do you and Hillary want to control and restrict and limit gun manufacturers, gun owners, and the responsible use of guns and ammunition to the rest of us, the good guys, instead of holding the bad guys accountable for their actions? And Mr. President, if I may, I'd like to use Chicago, your hometown, a city that has some of the strictest gun laws in the nation, a city that for decades and still is under Democratic control, a city that has an outrageous and even embarrassing murder rate, as my first example. Why can't we round up these thugs, these drug dealers and gang members, and hold them accountable for their actions, or allow the good people in Chicago access to firearms to protect themselves?
Good. All right. Well, let me, it's a multi-part question, so let me just say a couple things. First of all, the notion that I or Hillary or Democrats or whoever you want to choose are hell-bent on taking away folks' guns is just not true. And I don't care how many times the NRA says it. I'm about to leave office. There have been more guns sold since I've been president than just about any time in U.S. history. There are enough guns for every man, woman, and child in this country. And at no point have I ever proposed confiscating guns from responsible gun owners. So it's just not true. What I have said is precisely what you suggested, which is, why don't we treat this like every other thing that we use? We used to have really bad auto fatality rates. The auto fatality rate has actually dropped precipitously, drastically, since I was a kid. Why is that? We decided we had seatbelt laws. We decided to have manufacturers put airbags in place. We decided to crack down on drunk driving and texting. We decided to redesign roads so that they were less likely to have a car bank. We studied what is causing these fatalities using science and data and evidence, and then we slowly treated it like the public health problem it was, and it got reduced. We are not allowed to do any of that when it comes to guns, because people, if you propose anything, it is suggested that we're trying to wipe away gun rights and impose tyranny and martial law. Do you know that Congress will not allow the Center for Disease Control to study gun violence? They're not allowed to study it, because the notion is that by studying it the same way we do with traffic accidents, somehow that's going to lead to everybody's guns being confiscated. when we talked about background checks. If you buy a car, if you want to get a license, first of all, you got to get a license. You have to take a test. People have to know that you know how to drive. You don't have to do any of that with respect to buying a gun. And when we talked about doing effective background checks, it was resisted because the notion was we were going to take your guns away. I just came from a meeting today in the Situation Room in which I've got people who we know have been on ISIL websites, living here in the United States, U.S. citizens, and we're allowed to put them on the no-fly list when it comes to airlines. But because of the National Rifle Association, I cannot prohibit those people from buying a gun. This is somebody who is a known ISIL sympathizer, and if he wants to walk in to a gun store or a gun show right now and buy as many weapons as ammo as he can, nothing's prohibiting him from doing that, even though the FBI knows who that person is. So, sir, I just have to say respectfully that there is a way for us to have common sense gun laws. There is a way for us to make sure that lawful, responsible gun owners like yourself are able to use it for sporting, hunting, protecting yourself. But the only way we're going to do that is if we don't have a situation in which anything that is proposed is viewed as some tyrannical destruction of the Second Amendment. And that's how the issue too often gets framed.
Right out of the gate, Obama takes aim at the right wing's absolute favorite boogeyman, this ridiculous myth that Democrats are secretly plotting to rip guns out of the hands of everyday citizens. He calls out the NRA directly and just states bluntly that it's flat out false. And then he drops this devastating fact, which I love because it drives the right crazy. More guns were legally sold during his 2 terms than at almost any other time in American history. There were officially enough firearms in circulation for every single man, woman, and child in the United States. Like, wow. By pointing this out, Obama completely exposes the reality of the situation. The gun lobby doesn't actually care about freedom. They care about generating manufactured fear, because fear sells weapons. It's just a corporate marketing strategy. Instead of playing defense, Obama flips the script with a brilliant common sense analogy that honestly, we should all be using every day: automobile safety. He reminds everyone that when he was a kid, car accidents killed people at terrifying rates. The government didn't ban cars. Instead, we looked at the data. We implemented seatbelts, mandated airbags, cracked down on drunk driving, and engineered safer roads. And guess what? Deaths plummeted, but when it comes to guns, the right wing blocks that exact same logic. And this part makes me so furious. Obama exposes the fact that Congress actively bans the Center for Disease Control from even studying gun violence as a public health issue. Seriously? Think about that for a second. They are so terrified of what the science will prove that they've literally made the data illegal to collect. It's unbelievable. Then Obama highlights the utter absurdity of our current laws by contrasting them with basic everyday rules. To drive a car, you have to take a test, prove you aren't a danger to society, and get a license. Yet, implementing basic background checks for firearms is treated by the right as literal tyranny. And then he shares this terrifying security gap from a Situation Room meeting he had just left that morning. He explains that American citizens who are known ISIL sympathizers are actively tracked by the FBI and legally banned from flying on airplanes, but because of the NRA's intense lobbying, the government cannot legally stop those exact same suspected terrorists from walking into a gun show and buying piles of military-grade assault weapons. Unbelievable. It is completely wild when you think about it. We can block them from a plane, but we have to sell them a rifle? Obama wrapped up the exchange by making a direct, undeniable point. The United States can absolutely protect the Second Amendment for lawful hunters and sports people while still enacting basic, common-sense safety laws. The only reason we haven't done it is because the gun lobby has completely brainwashed a segment of the population into believing that any safety measure is an act of government tyranny. Obama didn't just answer the question, he completely rewrote the debate by keeping it grounded in reality. And honestly, it gives me a little bit of hope for how we can win these arguments. What did you think of Obama's response? Let me know in the comments below. Share this video with a friend who needs a reality check, and I'll catch you in the next one.